Hello, welcome back to the Leukopak Lady. Today's episode will help break the illusion that procedural standardization is the same as biological control. The cell therapy industry has standardized almost everything: protocols, equipment, documentation, training, and yet variability is still one of our biggest problems. And that's because standardization and control are not the same thing. There are many places that standardization works well. It works to reduce operator error, it works to improve comparability between batches, and it works to enable process scaling. Standardization makes processes repeatable, but it breaks down when biology becomes the dominant source of variability. Biology doesn't respond to how well an SOP is written. Consequently, there are places where standardization falls short. It fails when the same approaches are used with all donors despite different biology. It fails when the same donor cells produce different outcomes over time despite identical protocols. And it fails when the same specifications are used despite different manufacturing and clinical needs. So let's talk about control instead. Anticipation over consistency. True control of processes is achieved when we understand the sources of variability, we measure them early, and we design processes that anticipate differences instead of reacting to failure. Think of control as reducing surprise, not enforcing sameness. In the CGT industry, we rely on protocols to ensure quality, but do we over-rely on them? Protocols generate operational solutions, but they don't make assessing and responding to differences in biology easier. In other industries like engineering or even biologics manufacturing, problems can be more easily attributed to protocol deviations. So in CGT, we have standardized what we can control, but we ignored what we can't. And not because teams are careless, but because biology is harder to measure than process steps. So what does real control look like in 2026? We must characterize donors before collections. We must stratify donor pools to pair the right donors with the right programs through master donor banks. We must adapt specs to meet unique program needs, and we must establish reliable feedback loops between manufacturing, clinic, and sourcing teams. In 2026, control means designing processes that work across expected biological variability, not pretending that it doesn't exist. And once you stop expecting protocols to solve biology, you can address the fact that donors cannot be interchangeable. So in the last 4 episodes, I focused on defining what good CSM means as we optimize the future of cell and gene therapy. Along the way, I've shared a few core truths. Good starting material isn't defined by a single successful batch. It's defined by predictability over time. And when starting material is treated as a sourcing problem, variability becomes a surprise instead of a design of input. Specifications fail when they describe what's easy to measure instead of what manufacturing actually needs. And standardization makes processes repeatable, but it doesn't make biology uniform. And so Season 3 is just beginning. Tune in over the next 10 weeks or so for discussions about master donor banks, predictive biology, preserving consistency at scale, key infrastructure challenges, and how developers, collectors, and regulators can work together to define starting material quality. See you then.